In March 2024, a single acquisition sent shockwaves through Silicon Valley and made Adobe executives panic. A 19-year-old college dropout had just declared war on a $240 billion empire. 100 venture capitalists had rejected her idea. They called it the worst business concept they'd ever heard. But she built it anyway. While Adobe burned $20 billion on failed acquisitions, this unknown founder exploded from 0 to 170 million users in complete silence. Her company reached a $40 billion valuation. Adobe's stock crashed 26%. She had zero Silicon Valley connections, no technical background, no business degree. But she had one magic ingredient: customers who despised Adobe. This is the story of Canva and how persistence, perfect timing, and one brilliant move destroyed Adobe's 30-year monopoly. It's one hell of a story, so hit that like button and subscribe for more exciting tales of business and brands. Melanie Perkins was 19 years old when she dropped out of university with what everyone told her was the worst business idea they'd ever heard: make design software simple enough for regular people to use. The year was 2007. Photoshop ruled the creative world. Adobe's tools were complex, expensive, and demanded months of training to master. Melanie thought this was insane. She was teaching other students how to use design programs at the University of Western Australia. Watching them struggle with basic tasks sparked her idea. What if design could be as simple as dragging and dropping? Her boyfriend, Cliff Obrecht, believed in the vision and became her co-founder. They started small with Fusion Books, a platform for creating and designing school yearbooks online. Students loved it. Parents ordered thousands of copies. But investors laughed. Why would anyone want to design anything themselves? Venture capitalists asked, "Photoshop already exists." Melanie and Cliff spent 4 years pitching their expanded vision: Canva, a web-based design platform that would democratize creativity, make professional design accessible to millions. The rejections poured in. Sydney investors said no, Melbourne investors said no, international investors said no. Between 2008 and 2012, over 100 venture capitalists rejected them. Although failure was never an option, rejection stings a lot, Melanie later said. For better or worse, I don't give up very readily when I set my mind to anything. Each no carried the same message. The market already belonged to Adobe. Regular people didn't need design tools. Professional designers would never switch. Every investor was catastrophically wrong. While Melanie faced rejection after rejection, she kept Fusion Books profitable, proof that people craved simpler design tools. In 2010, at the Innovator of the Year Awards in Perth, Melanie met a man called Bill Tai, and he was about to invite her to the most exclusive investor gathering on the planet. Tai was legendary in Silicon Valley. He'd backed Twitter, Zoom, and dozens of unicorn startups. But he had an unusual hobby: kite surfing. Every year, Tai hosted Mai Tai, a private retreat where tech's biggest investors kite surfed by day and heard pitches by night. Only the most promising entrepreneurs got invitations. Melanie's pitch had impressed him. Her vision aligned with everything he saw coming: mobile-first design, collaborative creativity, democratized tools. "Come to Mai Tai," he told her. The retreat was the catalyst that changed everything. Surrounded by investors who understood disruption, Melanie's idea finally made sense. These people were different to traditional VCs, focused on enterprise software. They funded companies that transformed how people lived and worked. The biggest breakthrough came when Tai introduced her to Cameron Adams. Adams was a former Google designer who'd helped build Chrome. He understood both Silicon Valley and user experience design. Cameron became Canva's third co-founder in 2012. Suddenly, Melanie had the technical credibility investors demanded. The funding followed quickly. Matrix Partners led a $3 million seed round in late 2012. After 4 years of rejection, Melanie finally had the resources to build her vision. April 2013, Canva officially launched. Simple drag-and-drop design tools that anyone could use. No Photoshop training required. No expensive software purchases. Teachers created classroom posters. Small business owners designed their own logos. Social media managers built presentations in minutes. By the end of 2014, Canva had 750,000 users. The growth trajectory was unlike anything investors had seen. Month after month, user numbers doubled. Revenue followed the same explosive pattern. Here's what mattered most though. People weren't trying Canva once and leaving. They were returning daily, creating multiple designs, sharing the platform with colleagues. Word-of-mouth marketing spread Canva faster than any paid advertising could. Meanwhile, Adobe controlled a $40 billion empire in 2014, dominating 70% of the creative software market. They dismissed Canva as a toy. Why would they worry about a simple design tool like Canva? Photoshop had ruled creative industries for decades. Professional designers, photographers, and agencies would never abandon sophisticated software for web-based templates. Adobe's strategy focused on high-value customers, enterprise contracts worth millions, creative professionals paying $600 per year for Creative Cloud subscriptions. The company was printing money. Annual revenue grew predictably from existing customers who had no alternatives. Meanwhile, Adobe poured resources into acquisitions. They bought Magento for $1.68 billion, Marketo for $4.75 billion, Workfront for $1.5 billion. Each purchase targeted enterprise customers and complex business workflows. Adobe was building a comprehensive marketing and analytics empire. But they missed something crucial happening beneath them. While Adobe chased billion-dollar acquisitions, Canva quietly solved problems for everyone else. The 99% of people who needed design tools but couldn't afford or couldn't master professional software. Small businesses stopped paying for Creative Cloud subscriptions they barely used. Marketing teams at major corporations started creating social media graphics with Canva instead of waiting for overburdened design departments. The numbers told a story Adobe ignored. 2018, Canva revenue hit $84 million, a 40% increase from the previous year. 2019, revenue reached $105 million. Users passed 30 million. 2020 saw massive change. COVID forced millions to work remotely. Suddenly, everyone needed design tools. Video calls required professional-looking presentations. Social media became essential for businesses. Canva revenue exploded to $500 million in 2020, a 400% increase in 1 year. Adobe's stock price rose too, but their growth came from existing customers paying higher subscription fees. Canva's growth came from millions of new users who'd never considered design software before. User-generated content flooded social media. Canva templates appeared everywhere. Instagram posts, LinkedIn presentations, Facebook ads, increasingly created by non-designers using simple tools. September 2021, Canva announced a valuation that made Melanie Perkins worth more than most Fortune 500 CEOs. $40 billion. The number stunned Silicon Valley. Canva was now worth more than Twitter, Spotify, and dozens of public companies that had been around for decades. Melanie Perkins, the university dropout who couldn't get a meeting with Australian VCs, was suddenly worth $7 billion personally. But here's what terrified Adobe. The user numbers behind that valuation told the real story. Canva had reached 75 million monthly active users, growing by millions every month. Even more devastating was that enterprise adoption was accelerating. During COVID lockdowns, marketing teams discovered they could create professional presentations without waiting for design departments. HR teams built employee communications in minutes. Sales teams customized pitch decks instantly. The results were undeniable. Companies that had paid Adobe millions for Creative Cloud licenses were quietly switching to Canva for day-to-day design needs. Adobe's software gathered dust while employees collaborated on Canva templates. Canva's business model was destroying Adobe's core strategy. Instead of expensive annual subscriptions for complex software, Canva offered simple monthly plans starting at $15 per month. The math was simple. A team of 20 designers cost $12,000 per year on Adobe Creative Cloud. The same team paid $3,600 per year for Canva Pro. Professional designers initially resisted the transition, but business managers made decisions based on productivity metrics. Canva users created designs 10 times faster than Adobe users. Templates eliminated hours of setup work. Collaboration features streamlined approval processes. The professional design industry was splitting. High-end agencies still used Adobe for complex projects, but 80% of corporate design work moved to platforms like Canva. Adobe's answer to the Canva threat was to spend $20 billion buying Figma, but that backfired spectacularly. September 2022, Adobe announced the largest software acquisition in history. They would purchase Figma, the collaborative design platform that competed directly with Adobe's tools. $20 billion, more than Adobe had ever spent on any acquisition, more than they'd spent on all acquisitions in the previous decade combined. The desperation was obvious to everyone watching. Figma represented what Adobe should have built years earlier: web-based collaborative design tools that teams could use together in real time. Simple enough for non-designers, but powerful enough for professionals. Sound familiar? The acquisition was Adobe's attempt to buy their way out of the disruption crisis. If they couldn't innovate fast enough to compete, they'd eliminate the competition entirely. Wall Street initially celebrated the move. Adobe's stock price jumped on acquisition news. But regulators around the world saw something different: a monopolistic giant trying to crush innovation by buying competitors. The UK's Competition and Markets Authority launched an investigation. The European Commission opened its own probe. The US Department of Justice began asking questions about market concentration. Figma's investors grew nervous. Regulatory approval looked increasingly unlikely. Internal documents revealed during the investigation showed Adobe leadership discussing how the acquisition would eliminate their most significant competitive threat. That language became the smoking gun regulators needed. December 18, 2023, Adobe and Figma announced they were terminating the merger agreement. The deal was dead. Adobe paid a $1 billion termination fee to Figma, the largest breakup fee in tech history. Adobe stock crashed 12% in a single day. Investors realized the company had no answer to the collaborative design trend that was destroying their market position. In response, Canva continued growing. 135 million users by the end of 2023. Enterprise adoption still accelerating. Then on March 26, 2024, Canva announced an acquisition that the Adobe leadership knew meant war. Canva had purchased the entire Affinity suite: Affinity Designer, Affinity Photo, and Affinity Publisher. The timing was surgical. Adobe's Figma acquisition had collapsed spectacularly. Canva swooped in with a move that directly targeted Adobe's core Creative Cloud applications. Affinity Designer competed with Adobe Illustrator. Affinity Photo rivaled Photoshop. Affinity Publisher challenged InDesign. These weren't simple template tools. Affinity offered professional-grade software that many serious designers actually preferred over Adobe's bloated applications. The acquisition gave Canva something they'd never possessed before: legitimate alternatives to every major Creative Cloud application. Professional designers who dismissed Canva as too simple suddenly had a complete ecosystem. Easy templates for quick projects, professional tools for complex work, all integrated into one platform. Adobe stock dropped another 8% on the news. Financial analysts finally understood what was happening. Canva just completed their chess game, one wrote. They've been positioning pieces for years. This is the checkmate. Adobe's response was predictably desperate. They rushed Adobe Express to market, their own simplified design platform meant to compete with Canva's templates. Too little, too late. Adobe Express felt like exactly what it was: a legacy company trying to copy an innovative startup. The interface was clunky, features were limited, integration with existing Creative Cloud apps was broken. Meanwhile, Canva seamlessly blended simple and sophisticated. A marketing manager would create a social media post in 5 minutes using templates. The same person could handle complex logo work with Affinity Designer. 170 million users suddenly had access to professional-grade creative tools. No complex workflows, no hours of training required. Cameron Adams, Canva's co-founder, made the strategic victory clear. By joining forces with Affinity, we're excited to unlock the full spectrum of designers at every level and stage of the design journey. Adobe had spent decades building walls around creative software, expensive barriers that kept regular people from accessing professional tools. Canva demolished those walls overnight. Today, Melanie Perkins sits atop a $40 billion empire that's reshaping how the world creates. 170 million people use Canva every month. Between them, they've created over 20 billion designs. Adobe still holds the majority of the market, but their grip is weakening. Stock was down 26% in 2024. Revenue growth slowed, while Canva generated $2.7 billion with 35% annual growth. The lesson is timeless. Every monopoly looks unshakable until it crumbles. Melanie democratized creativity, made design accessible to everyone. Persistence beat established power. Simplicity beat complexity. The girl who faced 100 rejections became the most powerful woman in tech. Do you think Adobe can fight back, or is Canva's victory inevitable? Drop your thoughts below. And if this David versus Goliath story inspired you, smash that like button and subscribe for more billion-dollar disruption stories. We think you'll love this next video. It's even more dramatic than this one.